Judge overturns military ban on HIV positive troops getting commissioned as officers. Leave me a comment right now on what you think about this, and then I'm going to give you guys some info at the end. Overturns military ban on HIV positive troops getting commissioned as officers. So already you could be HIV positive in the military, but you can't join the military if you're HIV positive. I believe that that's still the case. But let's say you contracted HIV over the course of your military career. Maybe you're 5 years into the military, 4 left on your contract, and you contract HIV. It is not necessarily the end of your career, but it does affect your readiness. That's for sure. I remember when I was still active duty, I'm pretty sure if you were HIV positive, you could only be assigned to shore duty commands within the continental United States. So you couldn't be on ships, you couldn't go on deployment, you couldn't go overseas. But that all changes now. A federal judge has struck down the military's policy of denying commissions to HIV positive service members in a lawsuit filed in 2018. U.S. District Judge Leonie Brinkma ruled Wednesday that the Department of Defense must reconsider Nicholas Harrison's application to become a JAG officer, so he's actually trying to become a lawyer, for the D.C. National Guard without taking into account his HIV positive status. The ruling also applies to any other asymptomatic HIV positive service member with an undetectable viral load. So as you guys probably have heard, or maybe you haven't, you can now treat HIV down to the point where you won't even test positive for it if given a test. It just means that you got it at one point, and with medication, with daily treatment, you can be effectively HIV-free, as well as, and this is not my medical professional advice, this is just what I've heard, unable to transmit it to somebody else. Now, does that mean if you got your blood intermingled with somebody else's blood, they couldn't get it? I don't know the specifics of that, but that's what I see on a quick bit of research on this. The lawsuit, which was originally filed several years ago, was brought by Harrison, who joined the Army in 2023. According to his complaint, Harrison left active duty for the reserves after 3 years as a sergeant to focus on college, and subsequently earned both a bachelor's and law degree with the Oklahoma Guard. While in law school, he deployed twice to Afghanistan and Kuwait. The latter deployment came before his bar exam. After returning home from Kuwait in 2012, court documents say he tested positive for HIV. Now, that, despite how that's worded, I don't know if that means that he got HIV in Kuwait. Sergeant Harrison was immediately placed on antiretroviral therapy and soon thereafter had an undetectable load. He has been virally suppressed or had an undetectable viral load ever since that time. In 2013, after being accepted to the Presidential Management Fellows Program, he was offered a position as a JAG for the D.C. National Guard. However, his HIV status prevented him from commissioning, despite the fact that he received top marks in every category of his commissioning medical exam. He asked for a waiver, but was denied. Court records say he was told by the service's chief of staff that his request was not in the best interest of the Army, as if the Army knows what's in the best interest of the Army. Harrison sued, arguing the military's longstanding policy on HIV-positive service members was discriminatory, especially in light of medical advances. And these policies go back to the 80s. These medical advances should have resulted in an overhaul of military policies related to people living with HIV. Instead, the Department of Defense, the DoD, and the Army maintained the bar to enlistment and appointment of people living with HIV, as well as the restrictions on deployment when they revisited these policies in recent years. Now, you do have to ask yourself, if you're a combat MOS or not, and you're on deployment, actually, I take that back. Any MOS is in a dangerous job in the military, inherently dangerous job. So you're in the military, you have HIV, and let's say, people are going to probably find out. And so people know of your HIV status. Let's just say it gets around, rumor mill spreads, the scuttlebutt's going around, and you are wounded or injured on the job, and you're profusely bleeding. Do you guys think that would affect his battle buddy and shipmates' ability to render first aid? Or should it? Or what? What should happen? You guys leave me a comment on your thoughts on that. The allegation that the military's HIV regulations developed in the 80s are out of touch is not new. They have become, people have been trying to get this overturned for a while. In the 80s, service members who tested positive were being charged with sodomy under the UCMJ. That is insane. Piece of history right there. And HIV-positive troops reported being forced to live in a special barracks at Fort Hood that became known as the leper colony. One regulation that drew particular attention is the so-called safe sex order that HIV-positive service members are required to sign, which restricts them from activities like sharing toothbrushes or razors, all the way to the mandated use of contraception to prevent pregnancy and the spread to a child. I mean, I don't know what the military's ability to implement those kinds of rules are. If you look at the current mandates on vaccines, you might say, well, I mean, the military can do anything they want medically. They can make you do anything that they want to positively impact readiness and maintain readiness. So that doesn't sound so crazy to me, especially considering that at that time, people were much more susceptible to transmitting it because there were no preventative medicines available. In 2019, Ray Mabus, who was the Secretary of the Navy, argued it's long past time for the military to revisit some of these rules, though people still are not allowed to enlist. Mabus noted that the Navy expanded the places HIV sailors could serve to include large platform ships like aircraft carriers and certain bases globally. These individuals can do the job as well as anyone else. Harrison's case wound its way through the legal process. The government's lawyers tried unsuccessfully to have it dismissed. Among the government's arguments to toss the suit was the fact that the court has no power to direct that Plaintiff Harrison be commissioned, since that is a power expressly reserved for the president alone. Plus, they argued that people with HIV aren't a group that is entitled to special consideration under the Equal Protection Clause. The lawsuit never reached trial, instead handing a victory to Harrison on summary judgment. The judge's full opinion remained under seal. As of Thursday evening, it is not clear whether the government will appeal the decision. All right, so I said I was going to give my 2 cents at the end of this. For one, like, I got to just compare it to what's happening right now with other mandates, right? The military can and should take every action to maintain the highest level of readiness and lethality, period. And full stop, end of story. Now, one thing that I will say too is that there are massive, shortcomings in the way that the military views medical issues, including not taking diagnoses seriously, not taking treatment plans seriously, med boarding people over just the dumbest things, people getting med boarded just to get disability. I mean, there's tons of issues with that. But I want to bring up Shannon Kent, Navy chief, absolute legend, total badass, Shannon Kent. She was killed in Syria in an IED blast. And we've talked about this on the show before, and the only reason that she was even in Syria is that her package to commission as a naval officer was denied because she once, at one point in her career, had cancer. And as a result, she was prevented from being eligible for commissioning. She was enlisted. She had cancer, some form. It was treated. She was She was free and clear of cancer, in remission. And she was just a total badass, overqualified for the Navy. And she put in a package to commission. It was denied. So she deployed again, and she was killed. Then they came out with the Chief Kent bill, I believe, the Shannon Kent bill, to overturn that policy to now make people eligible for commissioning despite having had certain illnesses or diseases. Maybe it's exclusively cancer, something like that. So that wouldn't happen to somebody else, so that the military wouldn't exclude well-qualified candidates from jobs that they are going to probably crush it in because of some, outdated, archaic rule. This one, just in my own 2 cents, I could see being very disruptive to good order and discipline among a command. If people knew that one of their battle buddies was HIV positive and they were deployed together, serving overseas together, I could see that. Is that an education issue? Is that we need to all do better and encourage people to get smarter? I'm not sure. You guys can leave me a comment on that. But I could see an argument for that for sure. But as of right now, I'm going to go with this one doesn't bring me a great deal of distress, especially in a job like a JAG who is doing, a lot of reading, a lot of paperwork, a lot of desk work, representing military members in UCMJ, in court-martials, bringing up on charges. If he wants to serve as a JAG, as a good, honorable lawyer for the military representing service members, I don't see why his health status of being HIV positive and undetectable should exclude him from commissioning, because all we're talking about here is not whether people with HIV can be in the military, because they already can. We established that right at the beginning of this conversation. The question is, can he commission as an officer? And I don't see why not. You guys leave me a thought in the comments down below. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button up in the corner here and check out this next video. If you want, in the description down below, there's links where you can get Scuttlebutt Show merch and find out how you can support the channel. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to talking to you guys very soon.